Where's the recorded repository now for the
YouTube.
recording?
But I need
On
to
YouTube?
post some of them, yes. I'll send out the links once I post them. I'm a bit behind. Okay.
Okay.
So here's our agenda for today. Just a quick update on VOLTA issues. So we saw that Vol 212 was closed yesterday. Today, it looks like Vol 403. And 417 also closed. But that leaves us with 411, 400, 401, 414, 418, and then let's 419, and then we have two new ones, 420 and 421. So we'll take a look at those real quick, or if anyone has flagged any updates on the other ones. So any updates on any of the other ones? If not, we'll move on to look at 420 and 421 real quick, and then look at adapters.
All of them being assigned, like all these?
Except for the new ones. And then I saw a lot of updates on this one to get logs, and so I think that's being worked through. For this. Yeah, so general request for logs. But the good news is this one was closed out, no longer reproducible on latest image. So I just closed that one out. Not hearing any proactive updates, so I think folks are still working on the other issues. So we'll take a look through the two new ones. 420. ONU port entry got deleted from ONOS once ONU is disabled from VOLTA CLI.
It's if is this the port entry got deleted when ONU is disabled. If ONU is re-enabled, will the port entry reestablish?
Who reported this?
Raj.
Raj?
Mm-hmm.
What is expected behavior for this one? Anybody have been doing the ONU disable? Or maybe.
So where's this? What modules is? Where is this showing up? Is this ONOS? Is this VOLTA? Both?
ONOS integration and VOLTA.
It sounds like what the disabled or port being removed is in ONOS. If I read the description correctly, it used to, when you disable the port via the VOLTA CLI, the port would still be visible in ONOS, just in a disabled state. And now they're saying that when you disable a port via ONU in VOLTA, it deletes it.
And it seems like there's a difference, right? They said with the OLT, if you disable it via the CLI, then the ports are still there. So the difference between the OLT and ONU is different. So I think the question is this a blocker? And I think that the question was whether, right, if you re-enable, it would come back. So if that's the case, it's this, there's a discrepancy, but it's not a blocker, correct?
This
I would concur.
This definitely will be tested, right? So,
but if well, the question is, if I re-enable the ONU and it comes back and is visible,
yeah,
is that considered a blocker? I
no.
mean, okay. I mean, I can see it considered. Yes, you know, if I disable it, I'd like to see it still disabled, but testing should be able to continue.
But you should be able to see at least the port information still on the VOLTHA, right?
I'm not sure from this.
Yeah.
Jira, if that's true.
Okay, are the ports discovered again when the ONU is re-enabled?
And are the ports still visible in VOLTHA?
When it's disabled?
When you disable it,
When ONU disabled.
with the ONU disabled, is it still visible? The port's still visible in VOLTHA.
Okay, but I think the plan is if those conditions are true, then not a blocker.
Correct.
Okay, Kafka not starting in cluster mode. It keeps exiting.
Is that related to the Kafka?
Yeah, that's what I was wondering.
So the root cause of 401 actually is the 421.
We don't know that, but that'd be funny.
You don't receive stuff because the Kafka cannot stay up. Who is the most capable of looking at this one?
David was assigned.
I was assigned the other one just to test it. I still haven't done. I should have some time today to work on that. Let me. I can at least verify it. I'm not sure that means it's assigned to me, but I can at least verify it.
Yeah, for triage. But Sarisha said that she's going to take a look at it too. So any updates on it?
Excellent.
Any updates from either?
Where do you see Srisha is going to take a look at this?
Sarisha mentioned that they tried on Friday, ran into some issues because of proxies.
That's a 401, right?
Yes, but not 421. So I assume we give the same issue to the same person to triage. David, I think that's you.
David, what?
So I think the question is, are 401 and 421 tied together?
Well, in order to test 401, I actually have to get Kafka up and running in the cluster mode. So in order to test 401, I have to test the other one.
Yeah. So I think it makes sense to assign it to the same person to triage.
I don't know about assign. I'm trying to have as least responsibility as possible, and you keep tossing these things at me. I should have time to work on this today, so that's fine. I may throw ownership back at someone else after I triage it today, but I can get to the triage part.
This definitely will be a good, very, very good use case for the QA verification lab.
What I think we've seen is Kafka and container orchestration systems don't necessarily work well together.
Okay, there. You've got an out. Okay, so I think we're good on this list. We'll revisit tomorrow. And then the other item that's going on is there's a features overview that we'll be leveraging for the release notes. So I think folks have started working on this. So I assume, Sean, you've been assigning things to folks, and I see that it's starting to get updated.
Yeah, what I did is I pulled the some of the. I tried to at least get things started. So I pulled the PowerPoint and in the previous technical sessions. That's why we have the HA stuff and also the device management and also the punk config. But I do want to have the technical lead take a look at those, see whether the information are still intact. Sergio this morning completed the backup and restore and also the installer section. It's very funny. I was trying to edit something and he was still editing too. So, so that actually very interesting. So I also assigned Cecile to work on the security portion, and now is the on section 7 the XGS pawn adapter list. So maybe we'll create a table and I will just solicitate the adapters from the adapters I know who are going to from a supplier I know who they're going to submit. So but right now I think we probably need to the feature description. We probably still need to do more about that. It's pretty brief. And I would assume the high availability, I don't think Sergio done much editing on that one, so maybe he's approved that. So it's in progress. Hopefully we'll get this done before the release of the 1.0.
But we're not really tying them together because, we do want to release.
Yeah.
Okay. So,
But if people has any suggestion, any comments, just let me know, or put it on the VOLTHA discuss or something.
Yeah, this is Shad. I can volunteer for the H-core adapter if nobody else is volunteering for that.
Yeah, that'll be great.
Is there a link to this document somewhere?
I just included it in the notes.
Okay. And I'm sorry, I may have joined late and I didn't catch it, but isn't the biggest thing blocking the adapter vol 2.202? And is there an update on that?
We are going to head to the adapter work in a second. So we just did a quick recap of VOLTHA issues and looked at the new list. And then there's the features overview. Now we're moving to the adapter list.
Okay, sorry. Thanks.
Okay, so let's go there. Okay, so I saw an update. The build framework has been closed. So any other updates? I think the release evaluation was kind of ongoing.
This is Shad. Regarding the build thing, we still, at least I'm still not able to build the driver, and Karthik from Sienna also is facing the same issue. So I just sent an email out to the Radisys team. So I think there's still some probably pieces missing.
Shad,
there's a commit.
Yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead, Roger. I was just going to say there's a commit that was sorry, a commit that was missing. It needs to get merged with that. There was some compile time problems in there that Karthik noted and fixed up. Go ahead, Raghu.
Right. Okay, sure. So I'll wait for those.
I'm supposed to write. There is a commit available it's in the review. I think maybe once it is done, it will be checked into the master branch.
Great, thanks guys.
So Shad, maybe you can review that commit, right? Or is somebody else already doing that?
Yeah, sorry, it's got a +2. It just
it's already got it.
Merged. It just hasn't been merged yet. So,
thank you.
The change is good.
Thank you.
And we expect that to fully close at 299.
Yes,
Yeah.
With the rest of the build instructions, it looks. I think we've had a number of people that have gotten through the build recipe and would probably encounter that compile time problem, but with the fixes there, it will allow it to build. And we had been working with that base for a little while we were kind of stuck on 202, I think, Vol 202, which seem to be past that one now.
Okay. So let's do a quick walkthrough. I think this is general in progress.
300 is, ongoing.
And then 202?
Yeah, look open 202. Yeah.
No updates.
Raghu, can you comment on this one? I think we have this one.
Yes. Yeah, we could able to see the untagged DFL packet and the HTTP through the OMU. Maybe testing still is in progress.
Sorry, I missed it. You are seeing the EAPL messages or not?
We see this the untagged DAPOL as well as DHCP packets are going out of the OMU by using the OMCA command, what is available right now. And the issue was we had to execute some of the commands at OMU. It's a Broadcom specific commands to make sure this the build what we got and the image which is running on the OMU adapter is in the SFE mode.
Are these packets making it all the way to the OLT?
Yes, it's reaching the OLT, and we are seeing some issues at the OLT where the packets are reaching the ball on trap to host, and the ball is dropping the packet. And we are communicating the same with Broadcom guys.
Okay, so it's reaching BAL, but it's reaching the OLT, but it's not making it to VOLTHA because BAL is dropping it. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, this 202 issue was related to the 252 issue, which pretty much just got resolved within the last 12 hours. So this kind of removed a current set of blocking issues that prevented those from closing, and so we still need to get a JIRA for this. Just to have visibility to it, the JIRA for this trap to host is not working. There's a story for it, story that should be covering it, but we're still facing the issue in there and working it with Broadcom.
Okay, let's walk through.
This is Sant. Just want to brief community about the current update. What Raghu and Kim has mentioned is this is first hurdle. We have been working on the EA poll, and now it's reaching at the BAL trap to host. That we are working with. I mean, we just started working with the Broadcom guys. There are many other packets that need to pass, so it's still there are many more to work on. So I think we can keep community updated about the progress. How are we progressing? But still, I think there are a lot more to do. It's just one packet that has been reached, and later on it's a DHCP, ARP, and those kind of things that we need to manage.
So how much work left are we talking about?
Well, it's still some infrastructure things like getting this trap to host is kind of now that a packet is coming up, it's the first one that's going through there, and once we can handle that, then all the rest of them that have to trap to host will work. So how long exactly that will take is kind of not clear when all of that stuff will go, but we're working on it pretty diligently here.
So I'm struggling to understand the issue in terms of I mean, BAL functionality to trap to host should be something that's should already have been tested by Broadcom, right, before they released it, and I'm sure they made so. What's
right.
different?
The difference here is this mechanism that uses the distributed BAL, where it's not a monolithic BAL build, but it builds this distributed component as described in the BAL 2.4 release notes that makes the delineation between the open source driver and then the closed source of BAL that's in the OLT. So this is kind of where the area that's different is. Of course, the monolithic BAL fully worked and was demonstrated before with the trap to host, that worked, but this seems to be an issue with the distributed version, which is actually a new addition that Broadcom provided in that snapshot 2 of BAL 2.4 that was provided. So there is some new ground here that's being covered with using this particular bit of functionality.
Okay. 252.
252. The code is submitted for the review to the jury, clarifying some of the review commands given by the reviewers. And related to it's just not only the addition of the flow. Once the flows are added, verification of those flows against the data path. So the same thing again, we are just verifying the data packets, and that is dropped at the BAL right now.
Once this is closed, I think there were some stories that were dependent. Right, so those should be closing.
Yeah, almost like these are all verification path. Maybe everything, most of them will be closed after this 252.
Okay. So we'll wait for that, and then other issues should be closed. Any updates on the other issues?
No updates. We have not started looking at yet because most of the things has to clear by 252 and 202.
Okay, so some of these are still to do, waiting for 252 to be done, such as 251.
Yes.
Okay, this one's waiting on 299, so this should be closed soon. This is 280, send receive OMCI messages through the adapter using valid APIs of the device.
Yeah, 280 can be closed. We're able to exchange OMCI messages through the valid APIs. 280 can be closed. Yes, 254 also can be closed.
$158. Coding testing for this user story completed. Device side code can be committed after build framework.
Yes, 158 can be closed.
And then okay, 181.
Still it is open, it depends on 252.
Okay, it's dependent on 252. And to-do state, so you're waiting for 252 to be done to start this.
Yes.
So the note here is since these have not started, the estimates on these are a week long. So are we saying we're still at least a week out from being done with these stories?
Yes, I think because as I said, even in the last sprint, these are all, if it works, everything works in a day. If not, then I think we need to go back to Broadcom again, wait for their solution again. So this process will take long time. So that's why let it be for 5, because once we taken these tasks for verification, then we will come to know exactly how long will it take.
Okay. Next one is process packet outs from OF agent and send packet in to OF agent towards the northbound edge core adapter.
Yes, this again depends on the 252 too.
So maybe shall we add a blocker on that one, 253?
In the comments, depend on 252.
It's in the comment, right? But there's no blocker set.
Yeah, I
okay,
think.
But
Sean,
is it really a blocker? I'm sorry, I was just saying, is it really a blocker? Because the code can still be written for it, right? Even though you can't possibly, probably test it right now. Right. But okay. So I see it's assigned to Shad, right? Shad.
Yeah, the code is all the code is in there. I think this is a task for just testing.
I see. So for test, it's a blocker. Okay, got it.
Okay, gem port ID.
Actually, just a quick note on this, going back to that one. Is it possible to test this with the emulated sort of BAL driver that we were doing with Ponsim, Shad?
No. The Ponsim, we can have the discussion. But Ponsum, as it stands now, the device side of Ponsum doesn't really work with the H-core adapter. So
basically,
okay,
what happens in the simulator? We don't verify all the parameters which has been received from the VOLTHA. We just verify whether API is proper or not and whether it is reaching or not. All verifications will be done if we do it with the proper device.
Okay, thanks.
And then Genport ID, I think we said this was not a blocker. And Chip was going to put together a doc for the workaround.
And the Trisha, they already changed the range from 1024, right? Do we know whether that's in?
But that's in the code fix. It hasn't been submitted yet.
Yeah, it's in 2 different patches coming in with that. So it's in your patch, Chip, and it's in this 252 that's in Garrett as well that moves it 1024. So this is not a blocker for anything. I think we're going to have that in there. Whichever commit hits first, we'll have it.
Okay.
Okay, and then do we have the workaround?
We need a workaround because it's going to be implemented in time.
Can I ask what the CSP number is that you filed your issue with the packet in?
Raghu, do you have that handy?
Right now I don't have, because I'm on mobile. I didn't open my laptop. Maybe I'll forward after this call.
Oh, I have it, Frank.
Is that 3598864?
Exactly, that's the one.
So I guess I asked Iching, and he said that he only saw a request for how to dump trapped packets, not that it wasn't working. Is that a recent update?
Yes, I think what we saw was the trap code. Whenever the packet comes to the ball, the trap code is coming as 0. So
Yeah,
that is
I understand that, but what I'm saying is, did you put in the CSP that it wasn't functioning?
Yes, I just put the error.
Did you do that? When did you put that in?
Yesterday around afternoon.
Yesterday?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, the description, Frank, is saying about giving error below, the error below and callback registered if the packet is not called. So that was, pretty much the headline description. So I think it's in there.
Okay.
Frank, this is Suhas here. I think Iching has replied on the ticket to make some changes in the config file. So we'll have to include that and try it out.
Oh, really? Okay, because I just got a message from him 1 minute ago saying that he saw CSP asking for how to dump the trap packets, and this was the same the CSP number you just told me. So you're saying he already answered that and gave you some config file change suggestions?
Yeah, he gave us that suggestion.
Okay.
Is it saved now?
What is Raghu and Suha? What do you? Okay. So you guys gonna try it out, or?
Yeah, I think
Yes,
just now maybe seems like we received some reply from Iching, the .com guy. Yeah, we will try it and we'll update.
Okay. And then 303. File 2.4 adapter driver modified to use Genport ID on trap to host packets.
Yeah, the modifications are done. The code is already present, but the only thing is verification we need to do after 252.
And then Bell 2.4 adapter and driver modified to create flows with the same ether type on different gym ports.
Not yet tried. That's what 252 is in progress. Once that is done, can take. These are all like verifying with different scenarios.
Okay, I think we said that was not a blocker.
303 is, are you working, or did you work on 303?
Yes, it's as per 252. What we have to do is.
No, I'm just talking about is just who's doing the work or has done the work. It's unassigned.
No, it's a part of 252 where we have to use the jump port ID.
Okay.
Even wrap the host packet.
There was no work.
Yeah, there was no work. It's just a basically verification.
Okay.
Task.
Thank you.
Okay, so we're saying code submitted to Garrett for review. Once this is reviewed, it will be closed. Who's reviewing it, and how soon can we get this closed out? Because it seems like there are lots of validation dependent on this.
One is the review is under progress. Like Niren from Nokia and Steve from Sienna are reviewing it, and Shad also included from the OnLab.
Okay, so I think what we're asking is please focus on this as a priority to get this reviewed, right? We've got a lot of things being gated by this.
Yep. Hopefully we're going to have a domino effect. Once this resolved, and then boom, 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 everything will be resolved. We've seen that quite a few times in a park. So let's keep our finger crossed, and then it will happen.
Yeah, this will break through. This will break through a lot of things, allow a lot of forward progress for testing. But that 252 is going to kind of show every type of packet can actually make it through there, and the trap host can be properly processed. So I agree. It will allow punching forward pretty fast, but then there may be another thing up ahead on the road. So we'll just have to report that. We try to keep get a Jira bugs to track these blockers if we find them, or if anybody else finds them with the adapter or the driver. You know, to keep
I
that
definitely,
visible.
we don't have time to waste on communication errors, or because this is multi-company work here. So I really hope everybody, when you communicating, open the tickets, everything is very clear. And then again, Frank, I'm sure that Iching has been on top of this, but it just let's get this rolling. It seems like right now, I think we're in a very critical part of this development.
Yeah. Yeah, well, that's why I asked. So I'll check with him again after this meeting to see, what he thinks and where we are with that.
And so Raghu and Suha, you guys still in India, right?
I'm in India.
Okay. I mean, the testing right now, verification, all the stuff is based on it. Anyway.
Yeah, it's happening 24 hours a day, Sean. It's like I'm doing it in the morning US time and night again in Delhi. So as well we continuing it. So 24/7 it's happening.
Well, appreciate that. Really, make sure communication channel is open, okay, and then clear.
Yeah.
If there's any delay, any wait, to let us know.
Sure.
Yeah, it would be good. Also, be good. I see Steve's on the call. Is how are you guys doing with testing of this stuff? Are you seeing issues, seeing progress? Anything?
Frank, do you want to be CC'd also?
Sure.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Hey, Kim, this is Steve. It's, what's his name, Kartik, and the other folks there that are, I don't know, David may have further update, but it's some different folks in Siena here that are dealing with this.
Okay. Okay, yeah, we've just seen a little bit. We just saw Kartik's review, but it would be good if any, if they could raise any JIRAs against, either the adapter side or the driver side as they're encountered. So
yeah,
like we're at the front of of pushing these issues here, as Sean mentioned. But it would be good to know what's if you're encountering any issues, difficulties, or success, or anything like that as well.
Okay, yeah, I'll pass that along. Yeah.
Kim, this is Shad, Raghu. If you guys could share your ONU image details, the version that you're using, your Maple chip on your Broadcom ONU, just so that that when I try to, or others try to replicate, we know what versions to use and things like that.
Yeah, that was. I think it was. I think Steve had mentioned it, what that was, and we got that ONU image from from the CPE guys. So we'll pass that along. It's important to have that version is what makes the bridging work.
Here.
So we'll share that.
So Steve's update to the JIRA ticket was SFU image is 5.02L03.
Yep, that's the one.
Okay, so let's do a quick review of the timeline and see where we're currently at. I think we had anticipated a future complete on 9.8. I don't think that's happening. At least
yeah, I don't think that's happening.
And then we were targeting a 9.18 release.
I guess in jeopardy as well. I think we're probably another week plus out to get the code complete, based on what's left to do. A lot will depend on how quickly we are able to close out 252.
Okay.
Okay, and if we're talking about at least another week, I don't think we're releasing on 9.18, unless we're saying at feature complete, we're releasing it and the test cycle really is the test cycle for this adapter.
I think let's do whatever we can. It's in jeopardy. Hopefully we can make some decision by the end of this week regarding to what's the impact if the release got pushed off another week. But that's adapter side, and that will impact in the VOLTHA 1.1. What about VOLTHA 1.0, right? So that's edge core adapter, just one of the adapters, and then we have other OLTs depends on the VOLTHA release, right? So
right.
So can we get a feel for where people are at with integration testing? There seems to be a lot of new issues getting submitted. So I guess what I'm trying to understand is, based upon the new issues, are people still doing integration testing versus wrapping them up, right? Because we're getting a constant flood of new issues that are deemed blockers for the release. So where are we at realistically in terms of testing, and are we expected to see more of these blocking issues rather than having it ramp down? Because there seems to be more of a ramp up than a ramp down, which tells me we're not wrapping up testing.
I would agree that integration testing is still ongoing.
I would too.
So where are we at? Are we talking about 50%? Are we still expecting a pretty high ramp up? Or are we expecting issues to start ramping down? Because I think this constant cycle of, everyday new issues, we're going to have a really hard time in terms of predicting when the release is going to be, unless we understand from everyone where they're at in terms of integration testing.
I am not convinced we're at the top of the hill yet in terms of issues. I think there are questions still left open. There's not common thought in everything on how this is going to be deployed, I don't think. And as people go through, get closer to completion of the integration tests, we'll see more issues. And some of those issues may be more complicated or have larger impact.
So we were looking at start of testing on 9/11. So what I'm hearing is, due to kind of the ramp up, if we're not at kind of the top of the hill, that tells me that we're not likely to see a 9/11 release. Right?
That'll be very bad.
Yeah.
I would agree.
So
agree what? That we're not going to see a 9/11 release, or that it would be very bad?
I think we agree it's bad.
I think if there's serious, some major issues that pop up that might be difficult to fix within just 4 or 5 days.
So
I mean, I submitted one yesterday, which I think is a pretty bad one. So.
Which one was that?
417 or so. Basically, you cannot run a device adapter with 2 PON ports.
That was close.
Well, you can run it, you just don't get flows.
That's pretty bad.
Yeah, and it's actually in the logical. I'm down in the weeds of it right now. It's in the logical device adapter, and there's basically asserts all over the place. If you have more than one downlink port, it doesn't assert. So, I mean, we can talk about that later, but give those people a chance to talk. Let me see.
419.
419. No, I'm sorry.
I'm like 417.
I wish it was 417. That's fixed.
Okay. So realistically, are we saying we're at about 50% integration testing? Because we've gone through about, I think, 3 weeks of integration testing so far.
Yeah, I wouldn't describe that as effort.
So how many more weeks realistically of integration testing is left? I'm trying to understand when this is going to ramp down and when we can realistically expect a release. Because we're going day by day, but I was going day by day with the assumption defects were on the down ramp. But if we're saying it's still increasing, thoughts?
You know, it's you know, the phase 3, the schedule is set, and people are already coming in. So
in the case of the people that are coming into the 9/11 POC testing, have they finished integration testing, and are they running into any issues for the test cases that are expected to be run?
In the case of one of the entrants, we're also heads down developing the adapter and driver. So it's hard to say that we certainly have people working on integration testing, but we're still highly in development mode as well.
So I think what I'm hearing that is on the VOLTHA side, it's not clear what functionality is working. Okay, so we can monitor day by day, but I think we should have a realistic understanding of, right, I think what we're hearing is we may not make 9/11. So when do we expect this to realistically taper off based upon where everyone is at in their integration test cycle?
I mean, I think that's hard to judge, right? Unless we've got a list of tests that people, all right, back up. So normally when you're going through this sort of testing, there's an integration test team that has a list of integration tasks that they're working their way through. And
which is what I assumed each vendor was doing.
Each vendor may. We don't have a master list. We don't know. I think there's still some assumptions that are each vendor's making that may not be a universal assumption. I mean, I would say my confidence level in integration. I don't have the list in front of me. I know we have teams working on testing. My confidence about complete integration test is not high right now. Does that mean, at a given deployment we could get things working? I think we could, but it's going to be kind of that, as was stated earlier, we're doing development at the same time as we're doing testing, at the same time we're doing deployment.
The thing I would like to, I mean, the understanding is, if we use the POC3 as the QA testing test bed, right? So
if we find, if we approach POC3 as QA testing, and bugs are discovered and are blocking in some areas but not blocking everything, then they could be logged and potentially resolved within that cycle. But how long is that cycle? Is it a multiple 3-week cycles, or is it a 6-week cycle or longer?
And then what is the impact to the test entrance, right, as this is resolved? So I guess that's the question I have is, testing starts 9/11, so are we proposing that by the end of this week, we create an image that goes into that test cycle irrespective of these issues? I don't know how usable it is.
Well, we'll find out. I mean, as it becomes RC1 and we take it into the POC and run through every test that we can and log bugs on things that don't work.
Right.
Okay, so I think what I'm hearing is 9/11 is going to happen anyways. So let's go ahead and by end of the week, 9/8, get an RC build that will be used for the first cycle of testing. Is that the plan?
Yeah, and I know it's not ideal, but we need. I still think for the project keep moving forward, we do need to cut the release, and then the expectation is when the issue raised from doing the the Part 3, the community work together to resolve those issues and then commit the code. That's, as I said, I'll communicate back to AT&T is, this is what it is, and then we just have to. There's no other options, right? If we want to continue going forward with this direction.
Right.
Oops, I have to join a call.
Okay, so quick note, RC is just a release candidate, not the release. And so we'll do a release candidate on 9.8, and then that will go into testing. When would we cut a release?
This might be semantics at this point. Is it a release or is it, release candidate? Ideally, you don't make a release if there are still what we consider blocking issues, but there very likely will be blocking issues still on Friday.
Mm-hmm.
But if it's not a release, then you probably won't make a release until the end of POC 3, which is quite a bit of time before that release is made. So that become there's a potentially a PR component that needs to be considered in that.
So we could do a 1.0 release, and then all defects after that would roll into 1.0.1, and then they would be cherry picked back to master for the 1.1 release. Right?
I'm sorry, say that again.
We make a release, a 1.0 release before we enter POC 3. Before September 11th, you're saying that then you cherry pick back into 1.1.
Well, theoretically, all fixes should be cherry picked back to master. Otherwise, we're going to have an issue with the adapter release, right? So if we assume that happens, what we want is for continuing fixes to go into the 1.0 branch, so that we could probably do a 1.0.x as we move forward. The gotcha would be, right, the adapter release seems to move out. Initially, we were planning to not do fixes on 1.0 and then just get them on 1.1 as the release, because we expect that to be pretty close behind. And then that would just roll into testing. But the gotcha would be if the adapter is going to be pushed out a bit, what's going to happen is you're going to need the 1.0.x fixes in order to continue with the testing that starts on 9/11. Because that needs to probably be alive for 2 weeks, pending the adapter being done. So we could do a 1.0.x just to have it at a point where it enters POC, but it's going to have blockers. And what's going to happen is there will be fixes that will roll into a 1.0.x if the 1.1 is too far out. Otherwise, you just have to pull from that support branch for testing as it continues for 2 weeks. Any preference?
It's going to be complicated, especially if there are potentially multiple parties testing.
But JIRA tickets should be submitted. Everyone's working on it. It goes to the same branch.
Yeah.
right? That is something we're going to need to enforce.
We got it, yes.
Yep.
And so it's going to be this continual bug scrub. Let's work on the issues and then get fixes in. It'll be on that branch. And as things get addressed, people will just pull from that branch. Or we can do, right, interim releases if we need something that is specific or versioned for the testing. Okay, so I think what we're saying is
It provides the greatest visibility to all parties the fastest.
Okay, so I think what...
Or cherry picking back to master.
Yep. So this isn't ideal, but it sounds like we'll want a 1.0.x by the end of the week, knowing that there are exceptions, critical exceptions, because we have to get into the 9/11 testing. And then we'll maintain that branch and we'll continue the what we've been doing in terms of the bug scrubs and continuing to get fixes in. Does that work?
It's an approach.
It's not an ideal approach. I definitely agree. I would be much more comfortable if it was an RC. But I think what we're trying to do is just have some sort of milestone so it can go into the testing. Unless we're saying...
I got to worry that we're creating a milestone for a milestone's sake, as opposed to really ready for a milestone.
And I think that's fine. I mean, if we, honestly, I would feel more comfortable if we said it was an RC, right? And what we do is get fixes in, and then chances are there really isn't a 1.0 unless we consider the adapter release the 1.0. Because I think that's when it'll be stable.
Yeah, that seems to make more sense, is that rather than forcing a 1.0 milestone prior to POC3, we wait until the adapter is done and roll that out with all the critical bug fixes identified by then, call that 1.0. Chances are that's going to come out towards the end of September, realistically.
Mm-hmm.
So that has impact on POC3.
Okay, so let's do this. The proposal is to do an RC by end of week for start of testing. Continue getting fixes in. And do a we'll note this. I think Sean has left, so we'll let him review it, think it through, and then talk at tomorrow morning's meeting to close it out. Does that work?
I think that's the best we can do today.
Okay, I think we're done for the day. Thanks, everyone.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, bye.
Bye-bye.